Hopefully we'll get to see some of that in the not too distant future. Maybe not on the court necessarily. But either way, world rank number 1 Xu Xin is going to get us started here as the receiver for GAO Ning serving. Love all. What an incredible receive. Touch right off the bounce, going for a big forehand, an intimidating forehand to the short side of the table. But the first point goes to GAO Ning. Very wise serve, fast and long into the backhand side. 2 strong points for GAO Ning to start with his 2 serves. Xu Xin trailing 0-2. And that shot is just not coming back. Crazy angle just over the net. The forehand wide from the backhand side. After a strong block by GAO Ning, manages to drive the ball out wide to the forehand of Xu Xin. That ball right there had so much spin on it, but GAO Ning not fazed by any of the spin coming at him from Xu Xin that point. Very confident touch shots and blocking from GAO Ning. Xu Xin able to put the last shot in that rally. Left up a little high, and instead of going for all the power, GAO Ning putting it right into the body. Smart placement to take the point. You can see Xu Xin has to turn on that ball, has to make a decision. Going for the banana flip over the table. A little bit too low into the top of the net. Beautiful shot to the short side of the table, and Xu Xin ties it up at 4 points apiece. Beautiful anticipation too. That flip shot, not an easy ball for a third ball.
5-4.
A lot of people don't realize how fast Xu Xin's feet actually are. They don't see him running all the time because he's already there. He gets there and he takes a comfortable shot all the time.
4-6.
That shot was a little bit out of left field, just a big cracking reverse penhold backhand. Not going to make that shot too often. Great length and height on that serve from Xu Xin as GAO Ning tries to reverse it. The backhand from deep on the forehand side. Impressive power from GAO Ning. A step off the table, cross court. Still a little bit too much heat for Xu Xin to settle in and take a comfortable shot. GAO Ning with the serve, up 7-5. Smart serve. His motion looked like heavy underspin. Wasn't a lot on it. Xu Xin popped it up just a little bit, but GAO Ning not able to take the point. Bit of a funky twist on the end of that shot. Trying to drive it out wide to the forehand side. Tricky serve, tough to read. GAO Ning doesn't get fooled often, but when he does, what a shot. Beautiful last second decision by Xu Xin. He sees GAO Ning starting to turn the corner, waiting for the forehand on the backhand side, and hits it out wide, and nobody's there. Just a moment. That's all he needs to see him turn. 2 in a row. The first one catches the top of the net. It was that cracking reverse penhold backhand. This time he had a little better look at it. Xu Xin takes the game 11-7. Strong comeback, the last 6 points in a row. Game 1, Xu Xin, come back for game 2 in just a minute. For game 2, Xu Xin leads 1-0, love all.
1-love.
GAO Ning with this sort of awkward passing game, a little bit passive from about a step behind the table. Xu Xin wiping up some sweat. GAO Ning going for the big short side of the table. Big forehand to stay on top of that ball. But as always, when you're the underdog, there's some pressure. You got to play a little bit tougher than you're used to, a little bit higher performance. Even as fast as that ball is, you could see Xu Xin would have been there if that makes it. Xu Xin doing almost a breakdancing move to step around that ball. How do you not come back from that dizzy is what I want to know. Beautiful step around, whipping that arm was the last part of the body to brush the ball. Too good, GAO Ning able to crush it back with the inside-out shot. Wide out to the forehand. You will not see a lot of points that Xu Xin cannot reach. He wasn't even out of position on that. That ball was just bending away from him. No way. Incredible touch. GAO Ning hitting it so wide to the forehand. Xu Xin bringing it back. Great recovery shot. Look at that receive, so wide. Top of the net. Not an easy ball for GAO Ning to just punch like that around the net. See Xu Xin with a little bit of little grin on his face.
Let 3-all.
Very interesting. GAO Ning noticed the let pretty quickly.
3-4.
Not sure what happened there, but he had some trouble coming in for the flip on that. Could see something was a thorn in his side as he turned and looked back at the bench, his coach. Oh, we want to see that. We want to see those points go on. That's 2 in a row now that GAO Ning has gone inside out with that forehand and really caused some damage to Xu Xin. What a recovery shot from Xu Xin, deep on the table with topspin. And then he goes for the lob.
5-4.
Probably not the coach's choice, but definitely shows some confidence and fun spirit from Xu Xin. A backhand around the net from Xu Xin. He's just setting himself up for these highlight shots. Look at this ball bending away. Backhand around the net. Xu Xin using his youth to his advantage. The 24-year-old is one of the younger players on the Chinese team. Fan Zhendong is 17, but not many younger than Xu Xin. Not at least who are regularly representing the country. Still a 1-point game as GAO Ning closes in a little bit, trailing 5-6 with the serve. what do you do with that ball? From below the table, just so much topspin. The ball still bending a little bit aside on it. Look how low he gets. And he's back up and ready to recover. The physical conditioning that the Chinese national team has, just incredible.
7-5.
Strong receive by Gao Ning, and the next ball bending away. Xu Xin ready to run around it to take another forehand until he saw that it was bending even wider and slower. Goes for the reverse penhold backhand, but not an easy shot. Beautiful placement right into the body, and Gao Ning is forced to do a self-defense style swat to bring the ball back and not able to do it. Xu Xin able to take the ball right off the bounce again, just loading it up with spin and keeping it so short. Gao Ning, tricky, tricky ball after that.
10-6.
He sees a lot of underspin, lifts, overcompensates, and is now fighting off 4 game points. And Xu Xin will have the serve as well. Unbelievable ball right off the bounce, wide out to the forehand side, sending Xu Xin running for a swatting forehand shot. And the long serve gets looped, and Xu Xin is ready for it, no problem. Takes the game 11-7 and goes up 2-0 in the best of 7 men's singles quarterfinals. Come back for game 3 in just a minute.
Game. Oh man, sorry. Gao to serve la bola.
And for game 3, Gao Ning is going to start us off with the serve, trailing 0-2 in games, love all.
1 love.
Xu Xin going for the glory again with a fancy spinning shot to the short side of the table. Not able to put it on. Is now trailing 0-1 in points. Gao Ning playing great angles, so wide on both sides. Oh! Looked like it caught the side.
Love.
Heavy underspin serve to the middle. What a response. Gao Ning able to stay on top of that spinny, spinny forehand right down the middle of the table for his counter. Beautiful control and execution.
3-1.
Xu Xin is now on the board. Excellent flip from over the table. Gao Ning extending his lead. It's now up 4-1. Gao Ning is 31 years old versus Xu Xin, the 24-year-old. Gao Ning's playing a very smart game. Not getting into long rallies, staying close to the table. When you're a 31-year-old versus a 24-year-old, it's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to finish the rallies a little quicker. You're going to have to stay in close, play the angles, force the younger guy to run around a bit. And in that instance, Xu Xin made Gao Ning do the running. Xu Xin still trailing by 3. Now 2 serving 5. Great backhand counter from GAO Ning on the backhand side, but the next forehand a little bit slower and off the table more importantly. Excellent placement. Xu Xin hitting it to the short side of the table, loaded with spin. GAO Ning spinning it up, doing that Chinese overstroke that happens. And the timeout has been called by GAO Ning's coach from Team Singapore. Xu Xin with his longtime coach. The top Chinese players each have their own individual coach for training. Some of them might have coached Ma Lin for years and years, and then they sort of adopt their own. They also have their own practice partners. And when you're #1 in the world, if you're trying to keep up the practice, you might think, who could possibly practice with world rank #1 to keep him at the top of his game? I mean, anyone else he plays is going to be worse than him, right? So what they do is they get 2 training partners so that they can both hit forehands from each side of the table. So you're getting the best forehand from a lefty and the best forehand from a righty to hit at Xu Xin during practice. Fairly common for the Chinese national team's top players. Nice misdirection on the first ball, smart placement by GAO Ning. But that has been the last 3 points in a row that have gone Xu Xin's way. Xu Xin looks a little disappointed as he overshoots the shot to the short side of the table with his forehand topspin.
Left, 5, 6.
Let's serve. Xu Xin trailing by 1. What a block by GAO Ning right off the bounce to the opposite side of the table. Beautiful placement. Xu Xin is the winner of no less than 10 World Tour titles, including the World Tour Grand Finals twice. Strong spin from Xu Xin, getting around the ball, hit right into the body. Oh no, off the top of the net and as short as they come, there is no chance for GAO Ning to recover that ball. GAO Ning was up 5-2 and it's now 7-all. Just too tough, one after the other. The backhand cross-court heavy spin and then the forehand right into the backhand side. Ball just kicking up and catching the edge of the blade. Beautiful placement, comes in with the face of the racket facing straight up and then just turns on it to go the opposite way. Both players demonstrating great touch throughout that point, keeping it short. The final ball that finished it, GAO Ning playing the angles again. Ball left a little bit high. GAO Ning goes right into the body and then wide to the backhand for the next loop. Smart play. He now has a 1-point lead. This is a best of 7, so if he manages to make it 1-2, it's quite a different situation from being down 0-3. Heavy underspin serve, half long to the forehand side. Xu Xin not expecting so much spin. And now GAO Ning has 2 game points. And while GAO Ning has never beaten Xu Xin in a match, I will say his record against Chinese players is better than most.
9-10.
Gao Ning has beaten Wang Hao, Yanan, and Ma Lin in the past few years, but never in major events. While it's at 11-8 on the screen, the score is obviously not 11-8. Oh, a bit of luck on the side of Gao Ning. Great recovery from Xu Xin, and then a follow-up shot from Gao Ning. And he takes the game 11-9 by the narrowest of margins. And it is now 1-2 as Gao Ning trails against China's Xu Xin, world ranked #1. Come back for game 4 in just a minute.
Short game, Xu Xin, usar la ball.
Back to start game 4. Xu Xin's going to be serving, is up 2-1. See if he can shut down the angle machine, Gao Ning. Gao Ning does not want to be back that far. Even if he makes that shot, it's just going to be too tough for him to cover the court. And seriously, what an angle on that receive from Gao Ning. Just amazing touch. Smart play, one wide to the forehand, follows up with a bit of pressure to the backhand side. And while Xu Xin's developed his reverse penhold backhand, it is still clearly the weaker of his two wings. Caught a bit of the edge of the blade there, as you could hear. Gao Ning with a nice start, up 2-1. Still very early in the game. Unforced error. We love the facial expression from Gao Ning. Raises the eyebrows, licks the lips to say, well, gonna happen sometimes. High pressure counter shot there. Xu Xin's spin kicking out and just jumping up to hit that edge of the blade. Many of Xu Xin's opponents will face that experience. So much spin and speed. Heard a little bit of a grunt there from Gao Ning as he loops that ball, drifting long on the serve. 3 points each in the start of game 4. And Gao Ning is showing a different side of himself with these aggressive opening shots. 2 points in a row he's won while grunting. Really just whipping that arm around, getting ready. He even turned the backhand corner toward the end of the point. Xu Xin trailing 3-5. Xu Xin getting a lucky ball off the edge of the table. He changed his strategy a bit, staying on the backhand side. Seemed a little bit, I don't know if I'd say afraid, but seemed like going to Gao Ning's forehand might not be the way to go this game. And then finally he does, but the ball just clips the table. 4 serving to 5.
6-4.
Great placement from Gao Ning as he hits it out wide to the forehand side. Xu Xin grunting just to get it back, but there was too much pace on the ball.
Play.
Gao Ning trying to keep a long push short. Difficult task. Gao Ning's doing a great job of really diffusing Xu Xin's power and spin right now. Staying on top of the first loop. Ball right into the body. You could see Gao Ning had to sort of pull his arm into the ball on that just to stay over it without losing his footing. And what touch from GAO Ning. Racket head down, almost like a Dmitry Ovcharov backhand push from over the table. Completely threw a wrench in the system of the shoe machine. What a counter! Right off the bounce, forehand from the backhand side. This 31-year-old is not showing his age at all right now. He's playing like a 24-year-old out there. Backhand after backhand, Xu Xin very steady on those shots right now. This match, it has not been his best shot. We've already gone over that, but that point, very comfortable taking one after another. Still a 9-6 lead for GAO Ning. That seemed like a ball that GAO Ning might have countered in other opportunities. Played it a little careful, a little bit soft. Even if it comes on the table, Xu Xin's going to be right there for another shot. And that's an interesting lucky break for GAO Ning. Flat push. Sort of a half-long push left Xu Xin with a bit of an awkward ball. Made it uncomfortable for him, and now it's 3 game points for GAO Ning to tie this up at 2 games each. Oh no, after a beautiful block from deep on the table, he gets a great look at winning the game with that ball and just hits it too wide. GAO Ning was up 9-5. Xu Xin had a bit of a run for a comeback. And GAO Ning still has 2 game points. And he takes it with a spinny backhand for a 3rd ball. We haven't seen much of that from GAO Ning, but it's never a better time than when it's game point, and he does it. 11-8 for GAO Ning to tie it up at 2 games each. We're coming back for game 5 in just a minute.
Oops.
And we're back for game 5. GAO Ning's going to start off with the serve. 2 games each, love all. Outstanding point, Xu Xin hooking the ball back deep to the backhand side, and GAO Ning going for the angular finishing shot. That ball right there we saw GAO Ning hit, not easy. And this point all started with great placement on the flip from GAO Ning. Top of the net staying as short as ever. Xu Xin able to get to the ball and keep it on the table. The next ball just too tough. Xu Xin taking some time out there, warned by the umpire to play. An outstanding point again. And GAO Ning, starting these points with his backhand, has been very effective lately. Long rallies are going to be tough ways to win points with Xu Xin. Stamina is not an issue for Xu Xin. Covering the court is not an issue for Xu Xin. And right now, neither is the reverse penhold backhand. GAO Ning is world rank number 12. He's been somewhere in that ballpark for a while now, but Xu Xin world rank number 1. This would be a huge upset if GAO Ning wins. Unbelievable shots from GAO Ning, one after another. Seemed like some flat hits there just over the net. Working the angles wide to the forehand, then into the middle there, and back out wide again, inside out. Xu Xin having a lot of trouble reading how much spin is on that ball. Look at him, just amazed.
Play.
Beautiful low trajectory top spin from Xu Xin. And even the touch master GAO Ning not able to control that ball and bring it back. Clever cheer from the crowd. Xu Xin Jiao, then Jiao Xu Xin, switching it up.
4-3.
Xu Xin is one of the more expressive players on the Chinese national team. Can always read his emotions.
Like 4-3.
Going for the big shot down the short side of the table with that forehand. Has not landed as much as he might like this match. It's tied up at 4 points each. GAO Ning striking that ball with just light backspin. Looked heavier than it was. And again, that touch. Able to control the side spin as he just cuts around the right side of the ball there. Xu Xin walking back to the table slowly, taking an extra moment to think. What a shot from below the table after a side-swiping forehand. The widest ball yet. Bam! Look at that. Can't even reach it. GAO Ning was right next to the table. Ball didn't even exit through the back door. Went out the side. Clever escape. GAO Ning stepping around, risky play. But he's going for it. Xu Xin now has the lead by 1 point. 6 serving 5. Xu Xin playing the ball right in the middle, forcing GAO Ning to make a quick decision. If you can't beat the guy wide, almost every shot you see at this level is going to be right into the body. Of course, if it's a fast shot as opposed to someone changing up the pace, which GAO Ning has done an excellent job of doing throughout this match. There it is again. Swipes the ball with the backhand, bending it into the backhand side of Xu Xin. GAO now just trailing by 1. Almost recovering it off the top of the net. It's now a 2-point lead for Xu Xin. Look at that stone face. Very focused right now. And Xu Xin recovering the bending, breaking forehand of GAO Ning. The crowd very impressed. A little bit split, torn about cheering because they want to cheer for their hometown favorite Xu Xin, but were so impressed with the point that they couldn't hold back their applause. And that shot from Xu Xin is a signature where he leaves his paddle out there. It's the too pretty, oh too pretty shot. Heavy, heavy underspin. GAO going for a quick receive deep on the table, but it was just too much underspin.
Right.
As we're getting into the end of the game, GAO Ning is trailing 7 points to 9. Excellent touch. Xu Xin waiting patiently for the ball to come off the table, and it does, but not enough. It's 8 serving 9. GAO Ning trailing by 1. And the ball hit the net and came over eventually, but not after bouncing on his own side first. So GAO Ning is now fighting off 2 game points to be down 2 games to 3 in this men's singles quarterfinal. And that touch of GAO Ning, just amazing, as short and wide as they come. Part of you wants to see Xu Xin hit an amazing shot of the day around the net for a roller. But instead, the underdog GAO Ning is now trailing by 1 in an attempt to take this to deuce and go up 3-2. Umpire warning again for Xu Xin to play. Point. GAO Ning able to hang in with the world-class forehand loops, counter-looping one after another against Xu Xin. If you've been watching the match, you had to be sure that at least one of those would have finished the point right now, but GAO Ning is just getting stronger and stronger as this match goes on, and we are at deuce in Game 5 in this best-of-7s quarterfinals between GAO Ning of Singapore and Xu Xin of China. Beautiful flip. When GAO Ning does that, it's tough to read how much spin is on it. The ball seems to float just a little, and he has himself a game point. What a comeback. Last 3 points in a row have gone to GAO Ning. Does it 4 in a row from down 10-8. GAO Ning, the 31-year-old from Singapore, has a 3-2 lead over Xu Xin, world ranked #1 from China. Come back for an exciting Game 6 in just a minute. And the players come back to the game. It's Game 6. Xu Xin trailing 2-3 versus GAO Ning of Singapore. Little help off the top of the net, but a great recovery from a shot to the middle of the body. Too much pace on that ball from Xu Xin. GAO Ning, a very agile guy for a guy his size. Big upper body, looks a bit like a rugby player. Still manages to move, keep his strokes concise. And of course, that touch. Again, GAO Ning controlling the spin on the ball very well, touching it ever so faintly. Xu Xin having a little difficult time reading the spin on the ball. Again, GAO Ning changing the pace, really controlling the rallies here. GAO Ning with an incredible attempt for that counter loop, going back wide into the backhand side. Xu Xin's trailing, but he's closing in. It's a 1-point game, 2 serving 3. Beautiful reverse penhold backhand into the middle. Game's tied up at 3 points each. Xu Xin managing to get that forehand in from low to the ground, spinning it up, still keeping a lot of pace on that ball. See how quickly his feet moved to set him up for that shot? It's like they were always there. GAO Ning right to the middle of the table, very smart placement. Tied up at 4-all. Right on the elbow of Xu Xin. Incredible power from GAO Ning on that counter loop. Did not expect to have so much pace on that shot. Gets back the first ball, but leaves Xu Xin with a little bit of a high forehand. Not able to recover. Very smart placement. Xu Xin taking advantage of the open court. GAO Ning's not going to be able to make it on the run quite that often. Can't believe he returned the first reverse penhold backhand. Not only difficult to read, but tons of pace. That ball was so fast, even in slow motion, it left a trail on the screen. It's like a comet. Trying to keep the ball as low as possible to the net. It was a little bit lower than he wanted. Big turnaround here after a strong start to game 6. GAO Ning is now trailing 5-7. Counter looping rally, GAO Ning right in the middle of the table. Xu Xin working for every shot, making sure he gets the best forehand attack he can. And if not, that he's in a good position to set himself up for the next forehand attack. And after pulling a Tebow, down on one knee with the reverse penhold backhand, comes right back up into position. Just missing the edge of the table there on that last ball. Beautiful shot out wide to the forehand. GAO Ning has really turned it up to step around that ball. Timeout has been called from the Xu Xin side of the table. This is a big moment for Xu Xin as he's trailing 2-3. He's got to make this happen. If he does not win this game, it is over. He is out of the tournament. And it would be a pretty big upset for the world ranked #1 to go down to pretty much anybody outside of his teammates in the top 5. While it might be tough to predict what the coach is saying, he definitely has some passion and a very clear vision for what he wants Xu Xin to do. From body language alone, I'm going to guess that he's saying serve something half long to the forehand side and set yourself up for a third ball attack. Xu Xin's forehand attack, pretty devastating when he goes wide to the forehand side. And GAO Ning ties it back up. The timeout was called on GAO Ning's serve. See what Xu Xin does with these last two serves he has. And you could hear the crowd gasping as Xu Xin recovers the ball. The gasp was in response to GAO Ning's receive way out wide to the forehand. Very clever, but still not able to keep the ball down on the last one. Xu Xin now up 9-8. It is tied up 9-all, and GAO Ning has the last two serves of this game to win the match. If he takes these two serves, this would be a devastating upset. Crowd trying to get some energy into Xu Xin. And the serve catches Xu Xin off guard with a perfect half-long length, but Xu Xin's recovery does the exact same thing to GAO Ning. And now GAO Ning is fighting off a game point. He's in a great position, does not want to have to start over in game 7. Oh no, what an amazing shot. Xu Xin with the reverse penhold backhand over the table to the open court, and there is no chance for GAO Ning to touch that ball as he steps around the corner. Xu Xin is sending this to a final and exciting game 7, so come back with us in just a minute. And we're back for an exciting and unlikely Game 7 from the start of this match. I don't think many people would have predicted it. And after a beautiful opening forehand flip from GAO Ning, Xu Xin stays right in that point and takes the first point of Game 7. Off the top of the net, the ball stays as short as possible. Apology from GAO Ning for the luck. 1-all. The big cross-court forehand, and GAO Ning blocking it back to the far corner just too long. Forehand to forehand cross court from the backhand side for Xu Xin. He's running all around that one after another as GAO Ning turns the ball inside out there and then tries again with that last ball to go wide cross court.
Right.
What a point, but GAO Ning is trailing 1 point to 3. GAO Ning has shown incredibly versatile play. Spinny backhands, inside out forehands, soft touch, flips, flat shots. And that's the best power we've seen on a forehand flip yet from GAO Ning. It's now tied up at 3 points each. 3 points, 3 games. Everything 3 right now. It's all about 3. Unbelievable! The crowd knows it when they see it, and that was something beautiful and very much applause-worthy. Look at that ball, as short and spinny as they come. He just took all the pace off it, and Xu Xin finishes it off the side of the table. What an angle. It's the only way he could even get through GAO Ning that point. Great recovery there. 2 shots in that rally that were just outstanding, but Xu Xin was ready to bring it right back. As the players switch sides at 5 points because it's game 7, Xu Xin has the lead at 5-3.
Right.
Long serve by GAO Ning to start the rally. You can see the surprise in Xu Xin's face. He's not used to missing some of these shots. Credit to his opponent, GAO Ning. Oh, after a great forehand flip, Xu Xin brings it right back. GAO Ning still standing up after his shot. Xu Xin leading 6-4. Soft shot goes just a little long, and Xu Xin takes advantage. He's all over it. GAO Ning able to touch the ball ever so softly so that the spin is almost gone. Xu Xin setting up that shot, running around it. Big forehand clips the edge of his paddle. Now is the time for GAO Ning to take his turn. If he can convert both of these serves into points, it's tied up. Otherwise, he's continuing the trend of trailing by 2.
Right.
Or if Xu Xin accomplishes his goals, much worse for GAO Ning, trailing 5-9. After a brilliant touch shot by GAO Ning left open on the forehand side, he's not able to take the point. Now he's trailing by 3 in game 7, 5-8. Just catches the ball a little bit low, going inside out.
Net. 5-8.
Outstanding pace, 2 shots in a row from GAO Ning. This is power that we have not seen from GAO Ning too much close to the table with his forehand. Xu Xin's serve, 8-6. Very unfortunate. GAO Ning slowing it up, going for a spinny shot. You have to wonder what happened there, what his plan was. Was he trying to change the pace and the trajectory of the ball? Why leave the ball that high? Maybe he was fooled by the serve of Xu Xin into the backhand side. And again, the backhand failing him. The backhand had been so consistent for him through the middle of this match and even in the late ends of it. And now, Xu Xin has earned 4 match points. GAO Ning has a long uphill battle ahead of him. And that is it. Xu Xin with a deep sigh of relief takes it 11-6, 4-3 in game 7, and the world ranked #1 is still in this tournament, advancing to the semifinals. Stick around as we have more exciting play coming up in just a bit.
好，接下来掌声欢迎西南交通大学。